Hi, boys and girls. I am so glad you are here today because we are going to be learning about clocks and time. And to start us off, I have a book I'd like to share that is all about time. So here it is.
Clock a Clock, written by Kes Gray and illustrated by Mary McQuillan. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Another day is dawning. Colin the rooster puffs out his chest, ready to do what he doodle-doos best. 4:02 we open our eyes, fluffle our feathers and watch the sunrise. 4:15 we stretch out our wings, jump from our perch to see what the day brings. 5 o'clock, the farmer appears, with toast in his hand and soap round his ears. 5:05, he unlocks the door, rattles his bucket, throws corn on the floor. We gobble our breakfast in 10 seconds flat. Jessie's the fastest, that's why she's so fat. 6 until 8, we sit on our nests. We lay white eggs or brown eggs. Marge does requests. Just after 8, we leave the hen coop and stroll round the farmyard, all in one group. From 9 until 10, we go our own ways. The dust bath is Frida's, the hopscotch is Faye's. 11 o'clock, we meet by the plough, squabble and squawk about what to do now. If the tractor's been busy, we might hunt for worms, big ones, little ones, anything that squirms. 12 o'clock, we sit in the trees, ambush some caterpillars, lacewings and bees. 12:25, we practice our clucks, tell a few jokes and poop on the ducks. 1:02, we walk down the lane, 1 for the exercise, 2 to see Jane. Jane is the blackbird who lives in the hedge. She has a family of 4 and a husband called Reg. Jane is an expert on earwigs and slugs. She knows where to find the tastiest bugs. 2 o'clock, we play hide and seek. Valerie should learn to tuck in her beak. 3 o'clock, we lie on our backs. We make shapes in the clouds and then we make tracks. 4 o'clock, we are back in the yard. Wally the collie is standing on guard. Call him a guard dog, he's totally useless. Woofless, furless and totally toothless. 4:15, we go to the stable to visit the horses Molly and Mabel. 4:30 till 5, we perch in the rafters, watch them eat tea and hope for some afters. 6 o'clock, it's our turn again. A fistful of scraps, a bigful each hen. 7 o'clock, we form a long line and wait for the farmer to give us the sign. When he jangles the keys from inside his pocket, points to the hen house and bangs on his bucket. We race to the coop in 58th gear. Last one in gets a toe up the rear. Last to their perch is a big rotten egg. Anne isn't playing, she's got a bad leg. The farmer locks up and goes in for tea. It smells like pork chops and gravy to me. 7:30, we are ready for bed. No one is tired, so we natter instead. 8 o'clock, the sun starts to fade. The hen house grows darker, light turns to shade. 9 o'clock, the farmer shows up, with hot milky coffee in his favourite blue cup. He rattles our door and checks all the locks. We sit on our perch and wait for the fox. The fox is called Olga. She lives in the woods. She eats chickens for supper. She'd eat us if she could. Brenda starts fidgeting at 20 to 10. Any time now will be fox time again. At 10:57, we all hear a sound. Something is sniffling and snuffling around. The noises are coming from the farmhouse back door. Bin bags are spilling out onto the floor. Tin cans are clanking. Pork bones are cracking. Sharp teeth are crunching. Olga is snacking. The farmer is sleeping. He doesn't hear her, but we can hear sounds creeping nearer and nearer. Meters or centimeters, it's too dark to tell. But Olga is close. We can tell by the smell. Colin stays calm and jumps to the floor, just to the left of the crack in the door. Through the hole in the wood, he wiggles a feather, very kindly donated by Heather. He wiggles it, jiggles it, and now you'll see why. When he takes it away, it's replaced by an eye. It's greedy, it's beady, it's nasty and vulgar. It's starey and scary, it's definitely Olga. Before Olga can blink, Colin scoops up some dirt and cops her an eyeful right where it hurts. Olga runs off with a flea in each ear. That will teach her to come sniffling round here. It's 12 o'clock midnight. Everyone's yawning. Time for some sleep. Only 4 hours till morning. The Hen.
I sure hope you enjoyed that story. Now, in that story, there were animals on a farm, and the story used time to show about the different events that the animals had throughout the day. So, why do we have clocks? Well, we use clocks to measure time. So, if you need to know when it's time to go to basketball practice or ballet practice or art class, then you would need a clock. If you need to know what time to get up in the morning so that you're not late to get to school, you would also need a clock. If you wanted to be able to set up a time to go meet and play with a friend over the weekend, you would need a clock. Now, there are two types of clocks. There are analog clocks, which have numbers and have hands that go around in a circle, and there are digital clocks that just have numbers. I want you to think about what are some types of clocks that you have seen before. Well, here is an example of a wall clock like you might find in your classroom. This is an analog clock because it has numbers and it has hands that go around it. This is also an analog clock. It's an alarm clock. This is a wall clock that uses Roman numerals. Here's a cuckoo clock. And then here's an example of a digital clock. This is an alarm clock, and the clock only has numbers. There's no hands. This is a watch. You can wear a watch so that when you're out and about, you know what time it is. And my microwave even has a clock on it. This microwave has a digital clock. Cell phones also have digital clocks, sometimes analog. Now, our learning target today is I can read and write time using analog and digital clocks. I would like for you to join me now with doing our mirror words. Mirrors on. I can read and write time using analog and digital clocks. Let's do that one more time. I can read and write time using analog and digital clocks. Excellent. Now, it's important when we're reading a clock that we understand all the different parts of a clock. So let's learn how to read a clock. First of all, a clock has numbers on it. It has numbers for the hours, and then all of these little dashes represent the minutes. Our hour hand is in red on this clock, and it is the shorthand. Our minute hand is in blue, and it is the long hand. This is an example of an analog clock, and this is a digital clock. On the digital clock, The hours go on the left and the minutes go on the right. Now, when we want to find the hour on the clock, we're going to look at the shorthand and we're going to find the number that it is on or just past. So on this clock, it has just passed the 10. So it's 10 for the hours. Then to find the minutes, we're going to look at the long hand and we're going to count by fives starting at the 12. So that's our 0 and then stopping at the 3. So 5, 10, 15. So you can see that the minutes are 15 minutes. There are 12 hours on a clock and there are 60 minutes. Okay, so there's more minutes because minutes are a lot shorter than an hour is. Now, let's go ahead and watch a video to learn a little bit more about clocks.
What you reading? You can't actually read a clock, Moby. Well, a clock doesn't tell you much of a story. It tells you the time. A clock doesn't actually talk. It just, well, what is a clock? I know that a clock is a tool that we use to measure time, just like we use tools to measure height. All clocks measure the same time, even if they look really different. This is the type of clock we have in our classroom. And I have my own clock in my bedroom. And there's a clock in our living room. Oh yeah, and Grandpop has a clock on his arm. A watch. I guess clocks can tell time in different ways. Well, Grandpop's watch is digital, and the time is written out in numbers. And Mr. Pt1 says the clock in our classroom is analog. You have to figure out the time by looking at the face. What is the face of a clock? The face of a clock is the part with the numbers on it. Like on this clock, the face is the white part. There are 12 numbers that go around the face of a clock. Just like there are 12 inches on a ruler or 12 months in a year. The 12 is always on the top, and the 6 is always on the bottom. But the face and numbers don't tell time by themselves. What do the hands on the clock do? The hands are the part of the clock that point to the numbers. I know they aren't really hands. That's just what they're called. The little hand is called the hour hand because it shows the hour. And the big hand is called the minute hand because it shows the minutes. While the minute hand goes all the way around the clock, the hour hand moves from one number to the next. So the hour hand moves slower than the minute hand. And the hands always move in one direction. It's called clockwise. No, the hands never go backwards. That's called counterclockwise. But check it out, Moby. There are clocks everywhere. I guess people need clocks to know the time. But why is time so important? Every morning my alarm clock wakes me up for school. Come on, Moby, it's time to wake up. We don't want to be late. I know the bus comes at 8 o'clock, so we have to make sure we're at the bus stop before it comes. I guess time is important because we use it to plan the day. Moby, it's not time for lunch yet. There are a lot of times to remember, like our school starts at 8:30. Oh, and we have music at 2 o'clock. And I know the most important time of all.
I hope you enjoyed that video about clocks. We are going to quickly go over and review the properties of a clock. How many hours are there on a clock? That's right, there's 12 hours. Which hand on the clock is the hour hand? The short hand is the hour hand on a clock. How many minutes are there on a clock? There are 60 minutes on a clock. Which hand is the minute hand? The long hand is the minute hand. Now, if I'm looking at this clock, can I tell whether it's 5 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the evening? I can't because it just tells me the time. It doesn't tell me the time of the day. So we're going to now learn about AM and PM and how to tell when something's happening in the morning or how something's happening in the afternoon or the evening, and whether or not that would be AM or PM. Another important part of being able to tell time is being able to know the difference between AM and PM and knowing if something happens in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, or at night. So if you look up here, our AM times are any time from midnight to midday or noon. And then our PM times are anything from midday to midnight. So if you look at our hours here, our day starts at midnight at 12 a.m. And everything up until noon or midday is all AM. And that's a total of 12 hours. And then everything from noon or midday up until 11:59 at night is PM. And PM is also 12 hours. So our total day is 24 hours. Now, things that happen from about 12 a.m. until about 5 or 6, depending, or even almost 7, depending on the time of the year, that's time. Those are times when it's dark outside. And you're most likely sleeping during those times. Anything from 7 o'clock all the way up until about 6 o'clock at night, sometimes later in the summer, those are our daylight hours. So that's when it's sunny outside. And then it gets dark again around 7 o'clock. And then that's when we start to see our evening. So these are our nighttime hours. But before you go to bed, we usually talk about that being the evening. And then these would be things that happen in our morning. And then these are things that happen in our afternoon. So we can also see that 60 seconds is equal to a minute, 60 minutes is equal to an hour, and then our 24 hours is equal to a day. So we're going to do a little activity right now to help us figure out if it's something that we do in the AM or if it's something that we do in the PM. So, driving to school. When do you think that you would do this? We do that in the morning. So we're going to put it under our AM sign. Reading before bed. Well, we do that in the evening. So we're going to put that on our PM side. Packing up to go home. So when you're at school, you would be doing that in the afternoon. So that comes after midday. So we're going to put it on our PM side. Eating dinner. We do that in the evening. So that would also go on our PM side. What about eating breakfast? I do that in the morning when I wake up. So I'm going to put that on my hand. Driving home from school. We do that in the afternoon. So let's put that on our PM side. Rise and shine. Time to get out of bed. We do that in the morning. So let's go ahead and put that on our AM. Lunchtime. Lunchtime's a little bit tricky because lunchtime happens at usually right at noon. So it depends on if you eat lunch before 12 p.m. or if you eat lunch after 12 p.m. So let's put that one right there in the middle. What about brushing your teeth after school? After school activities happen in the afternoon. So we're going to put those in the PM. Brushing your teeth before school. Well, before school's in the morning, so we're going to put that in our AM side. Doing your homework after school. That goes on our PM side. And we have one more. Recess. Ooh, this one's tricky. It depends on if you go to recess before you go to lunch in the morning or if you go to recess after you go to lunch. Now, my class goes to recess after lunch. So we're going to put that down in our PM. Now, you just need to remember that your AM hours go from midnight all the way till noon, and your PM hours go from noon all the way until the end of the day at 11:59. And then we go back and start over again because it's a new day.